everybody, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for one of our weekly AT&T focused webinars. And in just a moment, we are going to be joined by our advisor, Tyson Mavar, and he is going to be speaking to AT&T employees about the potential of relocating when going back to work at AT&T. But before I bring Tyson on, I'd like to first introduce myself. My name is Samantha, and I'm in client services here at the Retirement Group. I moderate these weekly webinars. And I'd like to also remind you that although we work very closely with both active and retired members of AT&T, the Retirement Group is not affiliated nor endorsed whatsoever by AT&T. We are a completely independent group of financial advisors. Please keep that in mind. And with that, I'm going to now just turn off my camera so Tyson can get started on his presentation. Hey, Tyson.
Hi, Sam.
Hey.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. My name is Tyson Mavar, one of the AT&T focused advisors for the Retirement Group. And on today's webinar series, we're going to cover the newest official interest rates that affect your lump sum, the 2024 lump sum interest rates for AT&T employees and retirees. We're also going to talk about some questions that came up from clients and prospective clients recently related to the return to work or return to office push that AT&T has been going through for close to a year now. So for those of you who aren't as familiar with our company, the Retirement Group is an independent financial consulting firm that specializes in helping corporate employees plan for and transition into retirement. We also manage retirement assets, and our hope, whether or not you decide to become a client after you leave AT&T, is that we can help you put together a successful retirement strategy. A lot of that has to do with understanding your benefits. And for those of you that are considering taking even just a portion of your pension as a lump sum, it's very important that you watch and follow the interest rates that affect the lump sum calculation. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this table here that is showing the November interest rates for 2023, which will be used to calculate the lump sum payouts for anybody who commences their pension in 2024. So remember, it's not when you retire, it's when you commence your pension, which could be several months, in some cases several years after you retire, that the interest rates apply. At the top here, you see we have first segment, second segment, third segment. Those interest rates are related to corporate bond interest rates, short, intermediate, and long-term corporate bonds. And for November 2023, we had 5.5, 5.76, and 5.83. Now, this was another increase compared to the November 2022 interest rates, which means most people, other than those folks that are on a cash balance plan or who, which in rare cases use different interest rates, these interest rates are going to result in lower lump sums in 2024 compared to 2023. Many of you saw substantial decreases at the beginning of 2023. Now, while we're not predicting these decreases to be as bad as the changes at the beginning of 2023, they're still higher, which means lower lump sums. The rule of thumb that we recommend remembering is that it's roughly a 10% drop in your lump sum for every 1% increase in these interest rates. And you can see the rates change differently across the three segments, but the segment that we focus most on is the second segment rate, because that carries about 60% of the weight of the calculation. It's by far the most relevant of these three rates in calculating your lump sum. Now, that segment only went up by 16 basis points, or 0.16%. So as a result of that, that might only be a 1 or 2% drop in your lump sum. Fortunately, the rates dropped a little from October to November, but for most of the year, they had continued to climb in 2023. Now, you can see this is a substantial increase looking at prior years. Now, going back to the most favorable time to take a lump sum, which was 2021, that second segment rate was only 2.31. Now it's 5.76, more than double what it was just a couple years ago. Now, we don't know where interest rates are going in the future. Many of my clients that are either recently retired from AT&T or approaching retirement from AT&T are, in some cases, waiting to take their lump sum in hopes that rates will drop, although that's certainly not predictable. And then some folks who were close to retirement are just going to continue working. If they didn't dislike their job too much, going to work a couple more years in hopes they might find a more favorable environment to take a lump sum. Although many of my clients that retired at the end of last year still took a lump sum, even in this higher interest rate environment. Now, the silver lining on higher interest rates is, granted your lump sum is smaller, you can invest that money at higher interest rates in fixed income investments like bonds, CDs, even money market accounts are paying a lot more than they were a couple of years ago, as well as annuity payouts. If you like the idea of lifetime income, but didn't necessarily want to be tied to AT&T for that payment, annuity interest rates, or the rates at which insurance companies are calculating lifetime payouts, have gone up. So there's a little bit of give and take here, but it's important that we understand your situation before starting to recommend not only how to take your pension, but also, if you take the lump sum, how to reinvest that money to recreate the paycheck that has gone from AT&T after you leave the company. We got some great questions from some of our clients and folks that attend our webinars in the last couple months. We're going to go through a few of them. Question one, what are the risks of relocating, such as getting terminated after I move? That is certainly the biggest risk, I would say. And one of the reasons that a lot of people chose not to relocate is the concern that they might just lose their job anyway after going through the cost of moving, which it seems that AT&T has not been covering the cost of relocation for the folks that they have said your job is moving to one of the various hubs around the country. And then, of course, the relocation costs associated with either selling a home and buying a new one in your new residence, or keeping your old home and renting a place in the new residence for maybe a couple years. I know a lot of people that were just shy of their Mod 75 criteria, and that was the big reason that they decided to move or are considering moving, for those people that haven't been forced to make that decision yet. So just a lot of costs associated with this, and the risk of uncertainty going forward, what's going to happen to your job. And I've even heard some people, because many of you know that people get paid more in states that have higher cost of living, such as New Jersey and California are a couple states that we have a lot of clients from. And if you relocate to a place with lower cost of living, such as Georgia or Texas, it's likely that you'll keep your salary, but for how long? Or does the company look at you as a more expensive employee living in Texas because they're giving you California or New Jersey income, because that's what you were used to before the relocation? But just a lot of uncertainties with that. And I would say more often than not, the people that are being forced to move, we're seeing a lot of people look for jobs elsewhere. In fact, I have 2 clients that left last year that already found new jobs that are paying more than what AT&T paid them. Different benefits, of course, but both of those individuals, my clients, like their jobs more than they like their job at AT&T. So it's very stressful when you leave a company, leave a paycheck that you've enjoyed, in many people's case, for several decades. But it turns out there's a lot else out there, and some people are very surprised once they put the feelers out there, get their resumes out there, what might be available. Question 2, I'm a manager at AT&T. Will my pension change if I relocate? No, under most situations, although if your job changes, it's possible your pension could change, for instance, going from management to craft. And that's rare, but I've seen people have to take a different job just to stay with the company. And usually it's just to get their pension eligibility. But in almost every case, no, your pension will not change, short of any changes AT&T applies to the pension like they have recently in the last couple of years, or an actual change to your job title. Question 3, in the face of rising mortgage rates, how might my home buying potential be affected if I move? And what actions can I take to diminish this effect? Yeah, this is a really important question, because a lot's changed in the financial markets in the last couple of years. Interest rates are substantially higher, which means that given a certain level of income and assets, you might not qualify for as expensive of a home, given a certain budget, because interest rates are higher. So mortgage rates having a big impact. There's not a whole lot you could do about that, other than what I've seen a lot of people considering, at least, is just renting rather than buying, because they might not necessarily want to be attached to a home for an extended period of time, especially if you're close to retirement anyway. That could be an option. And then you might be able to keep your former residence with the anticipation that you'll return to that residence, maybe rent it out for the amount of time that you were relocated. So there are some options here, but there's certainly going to be some costs associated with higher interest rates on mortgages today. Question 4, what trade-off is there between the potential appreciation of a new property in Texas or Georgia and keeping my current low mortgage rate? So that's another thing that's happened. Housing prices, although they've come down just in the last year a little bit, they've gone up quite a bit in just the last 4 years. And so while you could be in a situation, if we're looking at this from a broad lens, where your home is appreciated a lot, you could be selling high and buying high, depending on where the move is going. You could be selling in an area that appreciated more than the average home across the country and buying in an area where housing prices did not go up quite as much. That would be a favorable situation. On the other hand, if you're selling a home that did not appreciate necessarily that much in the last 4 years, being forced to move to a market that did get very expensive in the last few years, and some of these major hubs that AT&T is having people move to, that is the case. Those are popular markets in high demand, so housing prices have increased more than the average in some cases. That would be certainly a risk of the relocation, and then not necessarily knowing that you're going to stay there that long is an even bigger risk, going through the closing costs associated with buying a new home and maybe not living there very long. So a lot of risks, a lot of uncertainty, and we can't, unfortunately, look at a crystal ball in a lot of these cases. Best advice I have is to update your retirement plan or put one together if you've never actually done one. Ours, we call it retirement cash flow analysis. It's completely complimentary to everybody at AT&T. If it's been a while since we've updated yours, let us know. We're happy to do it, complimentary. And certainly if you've never done one, get it done. There's no cost other than the cost of your time for doing this, and no excuse not to do it, in our opinion. With that, we're going to wrap it up today. If you have any specific questions, certainly give us a call. Our home office, the phone number is 800-900-5867. You can also email us at info@theretirementgroup.com. And just remember the statistics, 74% of Americans over the age of 50 don't even have a written plan for their retirement. Don't be part of this statistic, folks, because failing to plan is very detrimental when it comes to something as important as your retirement and the well-being of yourself and your family after you leave AT&T. So with that, we're going to wrap it up for today. Everybody have a good, safe rest of your week, and let us know if any questions come up. We hope to talk to you all again very soon. Thanks again, folks.